If you liked the video, click like. If you want to join the Little House on the Road family, hit subscribe. Your support would be greatly appreciated. Hello, Little House on the Road subscribers and followers. I've made this channel about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've always said that for every good, one positive, and there's two negatives, the bad and the ugly. I really didn't have a lot to base that on until recently. Little minor things here or there happen that you know, you got to overcome. But there are a lot of people on social media romanticize and glorify this lifestyle of being a nomad. And they don't really talk about the bad things. As a matter of fact, a lot of them just all downright avoid it. I've actually heard one person say that why talk about the bad when the good is so good? Well, I tell you, when the bad is bad, it really doesn't matter how good it is. Things go bad in a hurry. Our pop-up camper caught on fire. For those of you that don't know, it was destroyed. There's a huge suspicion that it was arson while we were gone. That is about as bad as it can get. I can't imagine much worse. I mean, of course, a death. Carolyn and I, one of us passed away. That would be pretty bad. Getting very sick, something like that. But the camper burning down and being totally homeless out in the middle of nowhere is pretty bad. For the fire, a lot of the people who would comment on my Facebook and YouTube channel would say that the channel idea of the good, the bad, and the ugly is a good philosophy to have for a YouTube channel. It gives you a different perspective. But since the fire, there are a lot of people who I think are starting to think, wait a minute, Rob, me, is destroying my dream of coming out here and living in a camper because there's bad. A lot of people have told me that social media can't be held responsible for the bad things that happen to you while you're out here because you're all adults and you could have made a decision. You should make these decisions on your own and not rely totally on social media. The problem with that idea is if you're, and I know this because I was in business, if you make a decision based on bad information, who's really responsible? Of course, the person who made the decision is responsible, but the people who gave you the bad information have no liability. Well, what I'm trying to suggest is why don't we take some responsibility and give out all the information and stop glorifying this. I mean, look, I am sitting by the most beautiful lake that you can think of right now. I was here last year, it was a dry lake bed, but this year it's a beautiful lake, it's awesome. So yeah, it's great, and we get to sit there and watch that lake for hours on end. But one bad thing kind of erases that for the moment. When the fire happened, you know, we were ready to just, what are we gonna do? And we had to think quick. I don't think anybody can imagine how horrific it was to realize that we just pulled into our camp spot and our camper wasn't there. And you're out in this big, huge world. But people have made the insinuation that it was my fault. It's my fault that the camper that someone torched my camper because I used a pop-up camper instead of a full-size, you know, a hard-sided camper. You know, hard-sided campers are much safer. Well, that's an illusion in itself, isn't it? How hard is it for someone to go break a window and do the same thing to your hard-sided camper as they did to my pop-up camper? They use the fuel as in your generator as a fuel source, or the propane. It's not so much did I make a mistake living in a pop-up camper. It's anybody can make a mistake at any time that some criminal can, or bad guy or bad thing can take advantage of. I'm not just talking about criminals, but any situation can come up and hit you. When we lived in a stick and brick, okay, you can say I made a mistake, I didn't do this or I didn't do that, and someone robbed me. Well, bad things happen. The difference between being robbed at your home is you have resources around you. The police can get there in relatively short order. When the fire happened, think about this, when the fire happened, we were 30 miles away from a cell phone signal. So we had to make a choice. Do we run to town and call the fire department, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, that's an hour, and is there any chance that the forest could catch on fire while we're out there, making the situation even worse than it already is? So we took these half-melted buckets, ran down to the creek, and just dipped up water, trying to put the remaining bits of fire out. Do you think about those things when you're romanticizing about this lifestyle? Obviously, if you're, again, in a stick and brick and your house catches on fire, it's a traumatic thing there too. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I remember my neighbor's house caught on fire. And by the time she came over, made the phone call, the fire department was there, I think, within 15 minutes. Okay, so there was resources. First, they came over to our house, they were safe, they could make the phone call. Out in the forest, you're not safe. Well, just the other day, I told everybody that we had to leave a campsite because there was a guy who we believe had a mental illness, and he was very agitated, and he blamed us because the flies were all over the place because we were running our generator. If I had called the police, I would have had to, wait forever. In this case, we did have cell phone signal, but we would have had to wait forever for the police to get there. It would have been a, 45-minute drive. 40-minute drive. Things don't happen quite as quickly when you're out here in the BLMs or the National Forest or anywhere. So we have to keep thinking. Then again, someone blamed me because this person who is obviously mentally ill said that if I hadn't ran the generator in the morning or at night when people are sleeping, this wouldn't have happened. Well, first, I don't. I always try to wait until I see movement around in every campsite before I turn on the generator. It's a quiet generator. A 8-cylinder engine. I actually had them side by side. I couldn't hear the generator next to an 8-cylinder engine. So it's a very quiet generator. You can't just say it's my fault because I ran the generator. When you live out here, you have to deal with those things. And people are going to come around. Bad things happen. And it's very important that you understand this before you come out here to live this lifestyle. Again, I just wanted to really stress this issue that it's not all this romantic, glorified picture that social media is painting. It's not, and I guess I'm just the one voice of opposition. So, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.